Welcome back to the Chicago Tomahawk. I'm Mike. I got my line mate Matt with me, and today we got Tyler Van Dusen on the show. How you doing, man?
Doing well. I appreciate the invite, boys. I'm ready to talk some hockey with you guys.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Tyler's a Calgary Flames fan, and I was telling him off air beforehand, everybody already knows that I hate the NHL except for the Blackhawks, but I got a soft spot for the Calgary Flames because of Theo Fleury. A lot of people hate him. A lot of people love him. And you know what? I think that's really a cool way to be. Like, you know, maybe you're doing something right when half the people hate you and half the people love you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, when you're a polarizing figure like Theo, you're bound to have people not like you, but you also have people gravitate to your ego and how good of a hockey player you are and personality. So you either love him or you hate him, and I'm with you. I love the guy.
Yeah. And it always turns out like the one dude that everybody loves, it's like guy's got the most skeletons in the closet or something.
Yeah, exactly. He's had a rough past, but you know what? He owns it, and he's made a career outside of hockey with it as well. So
right. Now the Flames this year are a team that I think that the Blackhawks can actually emulate in the future. You know, with Matthew Tkachuk, I think he really stormed onto the scene, and then I would say his production kind of went down a little bit, but man, he's having a hell of a year this year. I think he's at 29 goals and maybe 50 assists or something like that. But yeah, he's definitely a guy you want to get behind.
It's funny. So the past 2 years we've heard out of like Flames reporters and the just beat reporters around the area is Matthew Tkachuk's going to leave for St. Louis and Johnny Gaudreau's going to leave for New Jersey. And then you look at those two teams and you're like, yeah, you see the St. Louis ties, but I can't see the Flames letting two players like that just leave. You know, one's an RFA, one's a UFA, but Matthew Tkachuk has been lights out this season. Kind of replicates his 18-19 season where he kind of stormed into the NHL and then dipped last year after the Mark Giordano and the Jake Muzzin puck flip incident in Toronto. But yeah, it's been great to watch. He's a beast, and it's sweet to see that he can drive a line now all by himself. So he's now playing on the second line with Michael Backlund and Dylan Dubé, and he's excelled the last two games.
You know what? I would also think, from what I've noticed from him from the limited Calgary, footage that I've seen, just watching on TV or maybe watching some ESPN Plus, is that, I mean, he's a tough player, man. But before I wouldn't call him a goon, but he would do, some goonish stuff. But he's really, I would probably say, had better temperament this year than he has in the past. Do you think that do you think that that's kind of translating to more production?
I think being able to play with top players from the get-go, like Johnny Gaudreau and Elias Lindholm, has also helped. I do know that it's been a few years. He was really reckless. He was being suspended. Brad Treliving had to come out and back him a little bit. But yeah, he's just more letting his game play, and the scruff of the game is still there, but it's just not as seen as it was when he was a rookie in the first couple years in the league.
Yeah, like when he was terrorizing Drew Doughty.
Drew Doughty, I hate Drew Doughty.
Oh, you're God. A flamer. So
yeah. Man.
I mean, those are good battles, though. Those are entertaining battles to watch.
Yeah, man. I'm sure that Drew Doughty has nightmares of Matthew Tkachuk, like just standing there in his mirror or something and turning around and he's not there.
Or he's got his 2 Stanley Cup rings in his ear, blocking it out.
Maybe.
So.
I don't know, man.
His 1000th game this year, and Matthew Tkachuk did a little cameo for him, so that was even.
Oh, really?
That was awesome.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
I saw that.
So, moving on, Johnny Gaudreau has been a really consistent player his entire career. You could probably even compare him to Patrick Kane, just steady production, but he's having a really good year this year. Do you think that he's ready to move on from the Flames, or do you think that he wants to stick it out?
Man, this is like the toughest conversation you could ask a Flames fan, because we have a reporter down here, Eric Francis, who has been beating this drum for about 10 years that he's ready to move on, even though Johnny Gaudreau's been adamant and been saying that he loves Calgary, he wants to stay. I will say, I think he's more of a Panarin player than a Kane player. Like, I don't think there's many people in Kane's level, but still a great American-born player. I don't see Johnny Gaudreau leaving after this year, especially to go to a team like New Jersey or something like that where he's been rumored to go, or Philadelphia. I think winning, and you're starting to see the Flames are starting to put themselves in that conversation of being a contender. Right? I don't think they're like a Stanley Cup contender this year. I think they're staying close, probably a fringe contender, but I don't know why you'd want to leave a winning organization to go to a losing one right now. We just saw what happened in Philadelphia at the trade deadline and how messy that's starting to get, and New Jersey's still up and coming. So yeah, I think they'll get it done and lock it up, and hopefully it's not as high as Panarin and it's a little bit lower, more like a Mark Stone type of contract. But you never know.
Yeah, I'll call it right now, maybe 8.5.
What's he at now? 6 something?
He's at 6.75 right now.
That's a steal right now.
Yeah, it is.
That's a steal.
Yeah, especially when you've got guys like Jack Hughes, who's going to be making 8.5 next year.
Yeah, I was just bringing it up that back in the day, Kane and Taze got paid after they won their cups. They've proven in the NHL that they were able to win and get to the next level and really deliver. Nowadays, we got younger players that want to just get paid before they deliver, and you're starting to see that, destroy teams' cap hit and the ability to properly rebuild and all that kind of stuff. Like Jack Hughes, that's unbelievable the amount of money he's about to get next contract.
Yeah, it is, and especially for like say somebody like Johnny Gaudreau, like I mentioned before, who's just been so consistent his entire career that he's essentially getting out. Jack Hughes is outpaying him, and I pick on Hughes a lot, man, because he's been in the league for 3 years and scored 60 points, which is practically a season for. I mean, that's really a mediocre season for Johnny. And to see some of these younger kids coming in and making this type of money, I'll even say Brady Tkachuk as well, getting that 8.5, and he hasn't really hit those point markers like Johnny has. Do you think that going forward, like the bridge deal is just done? Like if you are drafted high, like I want to use Brandon Hagel as an example. This guy's got 20 goals. I think he's somewhere in like the 50 points mark, and he's getting 1.5 a year. He's actually scoring more than Jack Hughes ever has, but he was drafted, I think, in the 5th round. And obviously that's probably why he's making less money. But do you think that guys should be paid like for what they've done, or are we just paying dudes for their draft status?
I think I'm with you in the sense that they're paying them for their draft status. We also have a player in Calgary, Andrew Mangiapane, who's making 2.7 or something like that, really low, and he's already over 30 goals. Also, I just want to touch on Brandon Hagel. You guys got a steal.
Yeah, we did.
Of a trade. Like your new GM, like put his work boots on and said, "You know what? It's we're gonna embrace this rebuild." Even though like a year ago, Seth Jones was on the market, and we're like, "Oh no, maybe rebuild's gonna be on a hold." He embraced it, sold Fleury, got a huge pick for that after getting it for nothing, and then absolutely slaughtered Tampa Bay with that Brandon Hagel trade. So good for you guys. The rebuild's going to be a little bit quicker than you think.
Yeah, I really hope so.
Yeah, I hope so too. But to go on your younger players, yeah, Brady Tkachuk, what's his career high in points? It's below 60 points as well, I'm pretty sure. And he's making close to 9 or just 8.5. Yeah, his career high is 45. That to me doesn't make sense, especially when you're building a team. There needs to be a stage where you have players that can develop and then get that contract after they've shown what they can do in the NHL. And yeah, we've gone away from it. Everybody wants to get them like locked up long term, so then maybe they exceed those expectations and their cap looks better in 5 years, kind of like Leon Draisaitl. But that doesn't happen all the time. That rarely happens. So yeah, I think GMs need to go back to the drawing board and maybe work on their negotiations with these young players.
Yeah, or maybe come together and say, "Hey guys, look, here's the deal. Here's what we're not going to do."
Yeah, let's stop this madness.
It's not like these guys don't have a GM's meeting, every year.
Hey man, I agree.
So really quick, dude, Sean Moynihan, I think that he's been dropping like a rock. What's going on with this guy?
This is what happens when you have a player that's like warrior mentality. It's completely destroyed Sean Monahan's hockey career in the sense that this player, in what was it, 2018, he had 2 sports hernias, groin surgery, and yet again another wrist surgery. And last year he had the hip surgery again where he could barely walk. Like he had to relearn how to walk.
Jeez.
You're just starting, and it happened after the 6th game in the season. So you're just starting to see that we love these players that have big heart and will play through broken ribs and play through, all these injuries. But at the end of the day, your career is over when you just can't play anymore. He just got scratched, I think, today at practice for Ryan Carpenter, who we just acquired from the Blackhawks.
Yeah.
which is pretty sad because this guy used to be known for a lethal shot and at least pot 30 goals a year, and now
His numbers
he's
are
being
sweet.
scratched.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a real tragedy.
It's really unfortunate, man. And me and Matt have been talking about it. And I've been saying specifically that, that guys like, say, we'll take Vegas, for example. Mark Stone's got a back injury, right? Guys making $9 million a year. He's their captain, clearly a cornerstone of the organization. And we had Kirby Dach about a year and a half ago. He got a wrist injury. He was having a good tournament, juniors, and he got brought back, too early. And I think that there needs to be more of an impedance on just letting guys heal. It's like we weren't going to win a cup that year, and there was no reason for Kirby Dach to come back so early. Sean Moynihan was a great player with a great shot. He played with a bit of an edge. And now that he had to deal with so many injuries and then probably play through a ton of them, now his career's, he's getting scratched essentially. Do you think that maybe teams should be like, hey, you know what? We're going to shut you down, man, because, you're a part of our team. Obviously you're getting a big contract and we want you to play at the best, because a Mark Stone playing at 50% isn't as good as a Mark Stone playing at 80%, Do you think that teams and GMs and should maybe take into a consideration like these guys' long-term health when fielding a team?
I also think, I agree with everything you just said. I also think that the pressure to win is so huge.
Right.
Last year, the Flames were in this weird spot where Johnny Gaudreau's contract was up in 2 years. Matthew Tkachuk's contract was up in 2 years. Andrew Mangiapane's. They were like, we need to make the playoffs right now while everybody's at a relatively low cap. And I think it also is on part of the team where Sean Monahan hurts his hip in the 6th game of the season, and they go, Sean, what do you want to do? Do you want to play through it, or do you want to, shut her down? And at that point, you would think, kind of like the Vladimir Tarasenko incident that happened last summer or last year too, right? It's been a couple seasons, but still, shut him down. He's now no good to you at all. You've now just ruined a hockey player that could have at least, maybe taken a little bit of a decline if you let him rest. But now you've completely destroyed him and trying to keep him playing through these. So I agree with you completely. I don't know. I've never understood that, but we always applaud the warrior mentality in NHL players. It's kind of like no other sport out there, right? A basketball player will maybe tweak his ankle a little bit out for 3 months. But
yeah.
I don't know. I feel for Sean Monahan, and it sucks that injuries have taken him. I also will blame Jeff Ward a little bit after they got destroyed against Colorado in the 18-19 playoffs. He wanted to be more of a defensive player, and that also kind of ruined what Sean Monahan brought to the Calgary Flames.
It's like Kirby Dach all over again, Mike.
Yeah. That's essentially what it is.
Exactly what they pretty much did to him this season.
Yeah.
Oh God, they're killing him.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're wrecking him.
And on a Facebook group, people were mentioning, there's a difference, man, between the fandom. There's the diehards, there's the people who watch games, and then there's the people who kind of just jump on the wagon, and it's usually the people on the wagon that will say something like, Kirby Dach, this guy mentioned that Kirby Dach's wrist injury could be affecting him still. And someone was like, how can a wrist injury that was 15 months ago affect a hockey player now? It's like, well, I'll tell you why. Because you need your wrists probably just as much as you need your ankles to play hockey. Number one. Number two, he's a center. So you need strong wrist to be a good center in the NHL. I think the kid just turned 21, was rushed back early. Yeah, I mean, sure, you can bounce back faster when you're young, but you could also do irreparable damage to yourself when you're young as well. And I think that generally, like you mentioned, the fandom is like, oh, these guys are tough as nails. They're gladiators, essentially. Get him in there. It's like, oh, look, his legs hanging off. He can barely walk. He can barely speak in an interview without saying between every other word because he's taken so many headshots. But hey, the guy's a warrior, right? It's like, is this really what we're doing here? Like as fans? I get it. You if you're playing for a cup and you're in the playoffs and you're in the midst and you want to take that chance, that's one thing. But if you're 30 games into a season and you guys have won 10 games, are you really going to risk it over that?
Yeah, and and that's the real conversation too, where you have to be like, is it the player that's saying he wants to play, or is it the team giving him the player the option? And I saw this one argument on Twitter this one time, and it was really good, and it was actually a fascinating argument. That question was brought up, and they said, well, if the player decides he wants to play, nobody should ever tell them that they shouldn't play. But at the end of the day, where does the morale of the franchise and the care for the players come in for that, right? Yeah, you can have a player that says, I'm fine, I'll just fight through it, hopefully it will get better. These teams have doctors, these teams have physicians, have people that are looking at them all the time. They should be the ones that are like, no, shut it down. But I also get that with the Jack Eichel. Now we're getting into that thing too, where they want one surgery and the other, right? Like, so there is a fine line, but Sean Monahan decided, and I don't know what the Kirby Dach situation is, but Sean Monahan decided to play 6 games after 6 games of being hurt. And he just wanted to continue going through it, even though he had to learn how to rewalk and all that stuff. And now he's scratched. So did it really pay off? You know what I mean?
Right.
I can't believe his numbers. I'm looking at him now. He's a -16. This guy was a 30 goal guy. It's insane what's going on.
Right. It's incredible.
I didn't know any of this.
It's a hard league, boys.
Oh, it's a tough league.
So, man, we're going to move on to the Blackhawks. We're just going to cover their last game really quick. The Hawks beat the Ducks. You know, it's nice to be able to say that the Hawks beat somebody. Kaner and Cat and Strome are continuing their hot streak. Kaner's had a goal and 2 assists. Cat had a goal and assist, and Stromer had a goal and assist, which would make it 9. In his last 9 games, he's got 9 goals. Tyler Raddysh, one of the guys that we got in the Brandon Hagel trade, had another goal. And this guy's fitting right in, man. You know, in his first game, he seemed to be very noticeable. He was kind of everywhere. Then in his second game, he had a goal and an assist, and then in the last game, he had a goal. Pretty great, man, to see this guy, you know, come in and really try to win the locker room and the fans over. Like, hey, look, I know that Brandon Hagel left, but hey, I'm cool too, and I'm gonna make a difference. Lankinen had a strong performance, and, you know, it's good to see him get in there, get some experience. Fleury's gone. You know, this was originally supposed to be, you know, a Fleury 1A, Lankinen 1B type of a situation. It turned into the Marc-Andre Fleury's going to pull the whole wagon type of a deal, which I didn't agree with. I wanted to see him play, but I wanted Lankinen to get, you know, some experience from Fleury. Yeah, he got to see him operate as a professional, which is a really big deal. Saw his preparation, but I would have liked to have seen him, you know, get more games in there so that, you know, maybe he has a bad game. He comes down and Fleury's like, don't worry about it, dude. This is how you go back and bounce back after a bad game, you know, type of a deal. So we'll see how that works out. But I think that Lankinen could be the goalie of the future for the Blackhawks. We've got another guy in Rockford, which is our minor league affiliate, named Soderblom, who's he looks like he has promise, man. He moves really well. He's like 6'6", so he's like one of those big goalies. You know, me and Matt joke that whenever we draft a goalie, we should just have a Nashville draft for us, because you know, it's like these guys just find these otherworldly goalies. You know, UC Saros is just incredible, man. And I mean, if it wasn't for
our guy,
if it wasn't for that guy, I don't even think Nashville would be in the conversation at all.
UC Saros is playing out of his mind.
Yeah,
as a goaltender, especially with that roster. You also got to give a little props to the OC and the defensive core. But yeah, UC Saros, I didn't see it coming this year, and I think if you listen to our podcast, I think at the start of the year I said they need to decide what they're doing. Are they rebuilding or are they going for it? Because they're just kind of in limbo, and the goalie decided they're going for it. So we'd love to see that.
They're gonna keep going for it too, because he could single-handedly get you there.
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He's practically, you know, he's like the difference maker in the games, like as a goalie. And you wonder if it's going to be like one of those Damanakostic situations where the Sabres just blow, but they're competitive because their goalie, you know, is just out of this world, you know, losing 1-0 games.
It's like New York too. I mean, they went from Lundqvist to Shesterkin.
Yeah.
It's insane. These teams are just so lucky. I mean, we had Crawford for a while. He was our guy. That took a long time between. Like, who would you say is the next best goalie? Belfour? That was the early 90s. So
yeah, I mean, Belfour was really good, man. But I think Jeff Hackett held his own.
Oh, Jeff Hackett. I guess.
Wasn't it? He didn't have really good teams with him.
I liked Eddie Belfour, man.
That was after. Eddie Belfour also had, he had Roenick, he had Amani, he had Chelios, he had Steve Smith.
Jocelyn Thibault for 1 year, too.
Yeah.
That was
we did.
That was Theo Fleury team. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. So Tyler, how do you feel about the Tyler Toffoli, trade?
So Brad Living's been at the helm for 8-9 years, and he's never added at the trade deadline. He did the Dougie Hamilton trade, the 2-time trades. He traded for Dougie Hamilton, then traded him out of the organization. Those were always in the draft. This is the first time they've ever brought in a solid player at the deadline, and they did it way before because they knew who they wanted, and it's paying off, right? The guy has 8 goals in 13 games. He's been lights off. He's now lining with Johnny Gaudreau and Elias Lindholm on the top line. Plays number 1 power play. It's been amazing to watch, and it really makes you as a fan really excited towards this. I do want to ask really quickly, since I'm with some Chicago boys, what does Ryan Carpenter bring into the Flames?
He's got a motor, man. He goes out there and he'll kill penalties. Number 1, if you need a guy that's going to play some bottom line minutes, kill penalties, take some pucks, lay the body, be a real character guy. I think that's what you're getting out there.
Sounds like a playoff guy. That's what that sounds
like. Yeah, definitely.
Has he had playoff experience? I think maybe with Vegas that first
with
season,
Vegas he did.
Yeah, we're gonna miss him.
I like him.
He can win you a face-off when you need it, and
play wing if he has to.
Yeah, he's gonna fit awesome. Right into the Sutter system, I think.
Absolutely, he's definitely a Sutter player.
Well, I got one for Tyler. Mike's boy, Zadorov. How's it going? How's it going, eh?
Let me tell you this, okay? I talked to you earlier.
Yeah, I know you were ticked off. Yeah.
Seen in my life.
I knew it was coming.
And then you know what? He sold me.
He hits everything.
Stand now. Like I am.
Wow.
All about this guy. And you know what I think I like about him is he
the man bun.
Third line with. You know what? Thank God he doesn't have the man. I'm happy that's gone. He's got the slick suit though.
Yeah, he does.
A lot of the time. But I will say he plays with Gabranson, so it's not really high minutes. But he's been playing like situationally really good. At the start of the year, there was always like this really bad pizza he would throw up the ice or something, or a bad giveaway. He's kind of toned it down a little bit. Daryl Sutter's got him under control. Yes, I'm a fan.
Oh yeah. He won't play. Yeah, he won't play with Sutter. Over here, Colleton wouldn't say anything. I mean, the guy hit everything in sight, which was great. It was cool, but that's all he did.
Hence his 61 penalty minutes with 20 games to go.
Don't touch my goalie.
Yeah, I will say his penalties are getting a little ridiculous. He's back like last 3 games. He's been racking them up. So just chill it out just a little bit. But they stopped calling things left, so that's okay.
So before we go any further, I got to let you guys know, if you're looking to place bets and want to do it as the action rules in, DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, has your shot to win big too. New customers can bet just $1 on any team and get $150 in free bets if they win. That's right. A bump in the win column for our team means free bets for you, and we need all the wins that we can get. If Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, you still have a shot to light the lamp. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Hockey Contest. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Now, if you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now, use our promo code ShyTomahawk, bet just $1 on any NHL team, and get $150 in free bets if they win. That's promo code ShyTomahawk at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. Got to be 21 or older. Restrictions to apply. So look in the show notes for details. You know what, man? Me and Matt, we were watching the Carolina Hurricanes and the Tampa last year, and I thought that Carolina was a team that could have beat Tampa. But the problem is that they just went on. They just committed too many penalties, and Tampa made them pay every single time. It seemed like, man. It seemed like every time that they got, they were down one game like 5-1. They started taking penalties. Next thing you know, it's 5-2. Then it's 5-3. And then they get an even strength goal at 5-4. Then they get another penalty and it's tied up, and it's like, man, this game should have been put away. And penalties can kill you in the playoffs. And, you just hope that, Zadorov doesn't do that for you guys.
Hey, I'm begging because we had a lot of years of Sam Bennett in the playoffs, and you loved how he played, but there was always like twice a game he would take a dumb penalty and it would cost you. Cost us against Colorado a few years ago. Cost us against Dallas. I think it was 2 years ago. So yeah, I feel that pain. That's the word.
If you're gonna run into Colorado, I think Kadri's gonna put up his bullshit, and you guys will be fine.
Yeah,
because he'll get suspended for playing like a moron, like he is. But
yeah, man.
He's a great player. I'm not gonna take that away from him, but he just makes stupid decisions.
I'm gonna double down on that because I was actually just gonna bring that up, Matt. I think Kadri. It's not that he makes dumb moves. It's that he makes dumb moves at the absolute worst time that you can do that. And he did the playoffs last year.
Yeah, he plays dumb about it. Like, what did I do? Like, are you kidding me, dude?
You didn't see you board that guy into the freaking corner there? He's like, what are you talking about? It's like, yeah, dude, you boarded him behind the neck into the freaking into the boards.
I brought this up with my co-host on my show. Who's the poor GM that's going to overpay for Nazem Kadri at the end of the year?
The Sharks.
That's
that suits, right? Like that's
14 mil to make him the highest paid player next to Carlson. Yeah,
lock him up.
The forward. Yeah, that's my most hated, most overrated player in the league is Erik Karlsson, and it will always be Erik Karlsson to me. He has 1 million assists, but he's a minus 50. So good for you with the Norris.
You know what, dude? We really value defensive oriented defensemen. Guys who can play the defensive aspect of the defensive role, because it's a hard thing to do, man. Especially with how talented that players are these days. You can take any right wing or left wing, throw them at left D and right D, and call them a two-way defenseman practically. But what you can't do is you can't take one of these guys, put him in a defensive role, and these guys make sound defensive decisions when they need to. And I think that that's what's missing in the NHL these days, man, is that we don't have a lot of guys that are excelling at the defensive end of the puck because everybody wants to be like Cale Makar.
No, I'm taking Victor Hedman all day. I'll take Victor Hedman over Erik Karlsson, prime Erik Karlsson.
I'll be honest with you. I'm going to throw it out there, man. I'll take Victor Hedman over Cale Makar any day.
Whoa, that is a hot take.
I would, man. I would.
Really?
Yes.
I
will tell you why. I'll tell you why. Is that Victor Hedman, if you need him to, he can produce offensively for you in the offensive side of the ice. And if you're in a defensive situation with his big body, he can also defend at an elite level on the defensive end of the ice. That's something that Cale Makar can't do. Yes, Cale Makar can put up big numbers, and he's a great on his skates. He's incredible on his skates. But if he's in a position where he's getting hit or they're taking that part of his game out, he's done. He's useless. He's useless to the Avs. And that you can't say the same thing about Victor Hedman.
Well, for me, go ahead, Ben. I'm sorry. Or Tyler, I'm sorry.
I would just say I would take Victor Hedman over Erik Karlsson. I loved Erik Karlsson as a player in Ottawa. He was flashy before he got his huge contract that made him the most overpaid and freaking useless defenseman in San Jose.
13 mil.
Yeah, it's insane. It doesn't even make sense to me. It's almost like, yeah, I'm going off topic here.
He wanted that Pirates of the Caribbean money, man, but with that goatee that he had.
Yeah, I know he was fly, but big fan of Erik Karlsson. But I would say this: I would say Cale Makar at the age of 23 is further in his progression as an NHL defenseman than Victor Hedman was. That's all I'll say.
Okay.
You can't compare the two at this moment right now because, like you said, Cale Makar is going to make a lot of mistakes. Where Victor Hedman has now won cups. He knows success. He knows how to play the right way. You got a guy that's playing in his third season, and he's highlight reel every night. He could play center out there for most teams. But yeah, I would take Cale Makar at 23 over Victor Hedman at 23.
Well, here's another big difference, Tyler. I believe in Victor Hedman's third season, he was playing in the Stanley Cup Finals.
That's when we first got to look at this guy.
And you know what?
I'll tell you what.
Cale Makar isn't playing in the Stanley Cup Finals. As a matter of fact, he can't make it out of the second round.
Yet.
Hey,
and you know what?
I
think this is a big season for Colorado, man. I think this is a big season for them because last year, you know, when they went into the second round of Vegas, they blew them out of that first game. I was like, man, this is over, especially with that team, with the hype of that team, the year that McKinnon had. You know, Cale Makar was playing out of this world, and then the wheels fell off. You wonder if they get any kind of adversity going into the playoffs, and Nathan McKinnon starts telling people that they're not going to be able to eat pasta in the offseason either. I'll tell you what, man.
These diets going, boys.
They might start turning on each other, bro.
I don't think that's going to work, the Colorado Avalanche game. I don't think it's going to work in the playoffs, this whole run and gun thing. The Blackhawks were the Colorado Avalanche, what they are now. Run and gun, that stuff does not work against certain teams. You got to adjust. And I don't think Cale Makar is going to be able to do that because he's going to want to skate that puck up, but teams are going to tighten up. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a lot different. And then you got Darcy Kemper in that. Sorry, doesn't have that much playoff experience. So it's going to be quite a battle. I can see St. Louis kind of stealing a series from these guys.
Well, I really like that team is built the right way. And they have two solid goalies. No matter what you think about Binnington, they have two solid goalies. I will say this. I just want to ask you. You brought up Kemper. What's going to be the first thing? Like, who's the first one to blame in Colorado if they don't make it out of the second round? Is it going to be goaltending?
No, it's going to be McKinnon's diet plan because everyone's not on it. No. I mean, it has to be goaltending. I think because that's probably. What would you say? That's the weakest link of the team. I think it is. Their defense is strong. They got a great top six and good role players. The coaching staff is good. Joe Sakic has done everything he could to make this team good, but Kemper, what did he play in the desert for a couple years? And then I think he was a backup in Minnesota.
Yeah.
I think I would have I'd kind of keep Philip Grubauer, I think. And I know he wanted to get paid and he's playing with the Kraken right now and just playing terrible hockey up there, but I still think the goaltending is weak, and I was really surprised Colorado didn't call the Hawks. I mean, maybe they did. But I think I would have brought in Fleury just for an insurance policy.
I think they tried because didn't Fleury have say where he wanted to go?
Yeah,
I think Colorado was on his list though. I know Minnesota was too, but Minnesota might have made sense because it's it's closer to Chicago and everything. But
the big thing for him was his family. He didn't want to uproot his family, and that's why he almost retired.
But his chances are better to win a cup with Colorado than Minnesota. But I don't know. Maybe Davidson said, "Hey, I want that first rounder," and Sakic wasn't comfortable with it.
Right. And then Fleury's like, "Hey, look, I'm willing to go if this can help you guys. Just don't send me somewhere I don't want to go." Type of a thing. I want to double down on what Matt said. I think that if there's going to be blame to be passed, it's going to be passed on the goaltending, and I think that it's going to be passed on their captain because. If people could say if Philip Grubauer was here and you were gone, we've never won with you, and we stuck with you, and we still haven't won. And in his production in the playoffs, I think will be a big thing as well. So if McKinnon isn't scoring, if their captain isn't scoring, if they're not getting good goaltending, I think that it's going to fall on those three guys.
Yeah, see, I think it's all on the star.
Yeah,
Kemper's had a really good season, even if you look at his numbers. But this is on McKinnon's shoulders. There's got to be a time where you're take the game over. Like, what did that reporter say at the end of the day? You just F it, you just take the game over or something like that. The second round. It was something like that. But this will be all on Landeskog. This will all be on McKinnon. This will all be on Makar. It'll all be on,
I think Makar might be able to steer away from that blame a bit, man, because one, he's young, people love him, and McKinnon and Landeskog have been around for a while now, and it came down between either Landeskog or Grubauer.
I think they made the right choice. I won't lie. I've watched a lot of Seattle games with Giordano over there, and he has been hot garbage.
Wow.
Not just
look at the team though. I mean,
I agree.
It's very hard to stop a puck when they're in your zone the whole night.
So Tyler, have you recently heard of Jonathan Toews' comments?
I did.
Oh,
I
boy.
watched them last night. They're spicy.
I want to maybe if since you've heard it, I want to get your take on it, man. And we'll start with you. We'll start with you. You know what? How about this? We'll start with you, and then we'll go to Matt, and then I'll jump in. How about that?
Sure. The comments regarding him leaving next season, right?
Yeah, a sign of like, hey, how does he feel about the rebuild? How does he feel about sticking around, type of a thing?
Yeah. So there's two things with Toews. I feel like he's pouted a lot this year. Like I feel like he's like, I don't know, been a victim a lot this year while he's like not producing at all. I get he came off like a year that was awful. He didn't play at all last year. But I also understand where he's coming from. This player is at the end of his career. I wouldn't want to go through another rebuild. I wouldn't want to do that. And if the Blackhawks are going to be upfront about it and say, hey, I want, we're going to go full rebuild. We're not going to re-sign you. We're not going to do this. Or trade you or whatever. And I thought one of those big three would have moved at the deadline. I get it. I understand where he's at as a player because it's been so like 2 years ago they were rebuilding and then Seth Jones came available and they were like, hold the rebuild. We're going to go for it. And then now they're going to rebuild again. So I'm actually sadly going to stand with Jonathan Toews and say I agree with him.
Go on ahead, Matt.
Well, you had me for a little while, but okay. If this is Patrick Kane, saying what Toews is saying, I understand. He's putting up unbelievable numbers still. He's, a factor every night, consistent every season. Toews, 53 games played this year, 8 goals, 18 assists, -9. That's not good enough for a $10.5 million player. I know he's at the end of his career, but so is Patrick Kane. I know they're different players, but I think like you were saying, he's pouting too much. Feel sorry for me, Toews. But hey, if he wants to go, cool. Waive the clause and let's see what team's dumb enough to take you.
So Jonathan Toews came onto the Blackhawks, and the Blackhawks sucked at the time. And and Patrick Kane were supposed to be the start of something. The very next season, they had a Cinderella season. This uncanny team of kids with a few veterans made it to the to the Western Conference Finals, and they lost to who has always beaten us in the playoffs, Detroit. But this team of young kids, with stars in their eyes, made it to the Western Conference Finals and had hope. The next season, they signed Marian Hossa, and Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane and Marian Hossa are on the cover of ESPN magazine. The hype is out there, and what does this team do? They go out and win the Stanley Cup. And I'll tell you what, they couldn't have done it without those 3 players. As a matter of fact, I'll be honest with you, they couldn't have done it without all of those players on that team, because that team came together, they played well, and they were the best team out there, and they made it through the end. So going through the years, Toews has been the guy. He's won everything that there is. I mean, shit. Even when he went to the Olympics, Sidney Crosby talked to him about, hey, you know what? They were going to name me captain. How do you feel about it? Tazer's like, fine. Because at the time, Crosby wasn't winning cups like Toews was. We're going to fast forward a little bit. He's a Selke candidate, wins 3 cups. What this guy knows is winning. Him and Kane are the number 1 guys in the organization. He knows what it takes to win a cup, what it takes to be successful, what it takes to win a gold medal. And what you have to do is to buy in. You have to buy into the team. You have to buy into the guys around you. And you can't let what the media is telling you get to you. You can't let what you're reading in the newspapers get to you, or what you're hearing on social media get to you. So when he has his comments that seem really aloof and seem really out of reality, when he's like, hey, it's rough to see these guys go because, we're a strong team. We're a close-knit team. You know what? I get it. I understand what it means to buy into the guys around you, because that's what you need to do to be successful. And you know what? I feel for him, because they had Stan Bowman this whole time. There's this whole mess in the off season that happened, over 10 years ago. And, there's a lot of publicity about it, having to deal with that. He had COVID, and he also had this other, this other immune this chronic immune disorder that he had, and he's been dealing with it. And, let's take that into consideration. What does it take to make it into the NHL? Well, I'll tell you what, you got to be the top 1% of all hockey players. That's the first thing. You got to play hockey all of your life. You have to have elite skills. And on top of that, you have to have elite conditioning. And how do you get that conditioning? You play hockey for 10 years before you even make it into the big league. And then when you're in the league, you keep yourself conditioning. You're eating right. And you're doing this season after season. Taking a year off and not having that kind of exercise, the nutrition, and being ill is going to set you back big time. So not only is he trying to bounce back from this illness and COVID, but he also has to get himself back into NHL shape. And you know what? The league hasn't gotten any slower. It's only gotten faster. So when Toews is like, maybe I can see now that I've never thought about being traded before. You know what? I appreciate his honesty. Why would he think about being traded? He's playing in Chicago, like one of the top markets in the NHL, an original six team, captain of an original six team, brought 3 Stanley Cups there, and they hadn't won one in 50 years. So this guy's living on cloud 9. I'll tell you what, man, it's a lot different living in Chicago, making $10.5 million a year than it is for anybody else. It's a different life, and he hasn't thought about leaving. Now, seeing other guys getting traded, seeing Fleury, seeing Kaner, Kaner's got a couple injuries. Jonathan Toews is 34 years old. He's probably thinking, hey, you know what? How much longer do I have left? I can't dominate these guys like I have in the past. I'm not winning 65% of my faceoffs like I used to with ease, where it was practically me and Patrice Bergeron out here, 1 and 2, practically winning every single faceoff. And he's thinking about, hey, what am I going to do? I had another concussion this year. Do I still want to go through the grind? Looking at one of the greats of the Chicago Blackhawks, Bob Probert, look what happened to him and his concussions. He had CTE. Is Toews thinking, hey, you know what? I've had maybe at least 5 concussions in the league. I don't know how many I've had in juniors. What am I going to do? What am I going to do with my life? Is the team going to trade me? I know I'm not going to be making $10.5 million. Do I even want to play anymore? So I think that his comments were very honest, which I appreciate, because you can get the cookie cutter responses that you get out of a lot of players, because Kaner will give you what you want to hear in interviews. Patrick Sharp did a great job of telling you exactly what you wanted to hear in interviews. And Toews, and I think that kind of rubs people the wrong way sometimes, because it's like, well, how can you think about going somewhere else? It's like, well, hell, you know what? I'm tired of getting my head beat in this game. I might be done. The guy who I came in here with is having kids. I want to start having kids, and I don't want to, I don't want to be, half brain dead when I retire and start having kids. So, that's the other side of the coin. I think Toews, if he's going to stick around, I think that he will. I think that, maybe we can get him at a reasonable contract when he does, and he can take over that leading a shutdown line for the Blackhawks, because I still think that he still has the ability to win faceoffs, what we need, and to play elite defense. So that's my take on it.
I think part of the problem is the media too.
Yeah.
I mean, they're trying to get him to say, yeah, I want out. And
right.
He's hinting it, but he's not saying it. But I think he just needs like a better attitude about it. Like we get you're upset and everything, but come on, man. It's Brandon Hagel. He's a 25 goal guy. Yes, he works hard and everything. But Tampa just gave us 2 first-rounders, 2 NHL caliber players. What choice did he have? I mean, we don't have anybody else really in the pipeline. I mean, Toews can't really think like we're a playoff contending team. He's got to be on board with this, because we have to start fresh. We have no choice.
I agree with you 100%, but something that you need to understand is that we're looking at it from an eagle-eyed view from the business side of the game. And like I mentioned, Toews is only looking at this as a player. What he knows as Hagel is that him and this guy, maybe they played Super Mario Brothers on every road trip. Maybe they ate breakfast together. Maybe Brandon Hagel's like, hey, you know what? You've been in the league for a long time. Maybe he was mentoring Hagel. He sees the guy every single day in practice all the time. It's different for a guy like that to get traded for him than it is for us. And I can guarantee you that Toews, he's not looking at this from the business side of the organization. He's looking at this as a player and losing teammates. That's how he's looking at it.
I do want to just touch in here too, really quick. I do see it as in Toews that the Blackhawks went out and got Fleury in the offseason. They went and made a huge splash in getting the overrated Seth Jones, and your team is starting to look good, right? And you have Alex DeBrincat, you still have Patrick Kane, you've upped your defense, you've got Rinus Zadorov, you've gotten a better goaltender. That, is probably all signs to Toews that, we're going to go for this a couple more times, right? And then it doesn't go as, at all the way he probably expected this season. Now, as part of that his play? Yes, part of it's his play as well. These comments reminded me of when they got rid of Brandon Saad. Very similar, it was probably a really close friend to Toews, like you were mentioning. But yeah, we're not in that locker room. This is probably a roller coaster from the Chicago Blackhawks have not had an easy 18 months. Is it by their own doing? Yeah, it's by their own doing. But still, I couldn't imagine being in that locker room right now. So I'm sure tensions are high, and I'm sure his comments are very validated as well.
I got another argument for you, though, with this.
All right.
You know how many players that we've lost because of Kane and Toews' contract? We've lost Bufflin. We've lost Teuvo Teravainen. We lost Panarin. I could see you flipping out at the media I can't believe we got rid of Panarin.
We didn't lose Buff. We didn't lose Buff because of Toews and Kane.
Kane and Toews contracts. Yes,
no, we didn't.
Yes, we did. They signed 6 years, $6 million. We had no money to pay Bufflin. Bufflin was a huge difference maker. He could play defense. He could play forward. You put him in front of the net against Vancouver. Luongo is an absolute shit goaltender. That helped us every season,
dude.
But we've lost so many good players,
dude. Bufflin is not a Jonathan Toews, and Bufflin is not a Patrick Kane by any stretch of the means, dude. You'd be smoking crack if you would sign Dustin Bufflin over Patrick Kane or Jonathan Toews. And as a matter of fact, if you want to blame anybody for us losing Bufflin, you can blame your boy Dale Talon because he didn't get those qualifying contracts in time.
That wasn't Bufflin. That was Versteeg. But
Bufflin was one of those, wasn't he?
No, he was. No. I'm not saying I would sign Bufflin over these guys, but we're losing key players, and we had no depth, especially 2011. We didn't deserve to make the playoffs that year. We got lucky because I believe Minnesota beat a team in a shootout, and they got an extra point, and they prevented a team from getting in. But we lost so much depth because we had to pay these guys. And then the next contract, I get that they earn $10.5 a year, yes. But we've lost a lot of good players because of these two contracts. And he didn't seem to care back then. But now when we're pretty terrible, Brandon Hagel, yeah, come on, man. We got to start building. We got to think about the future. You're not going to be here forever. So I just wish the pouting fest would stop. And I know a lot of guys are with me, and I know a lot of guys are with you, but it's just getting old. Like I said, I understand. If you're putting up 20 goals, 40 assists like Kaner or whatever, Kaner might even have more. This guy is contributing every night. So, The last game I noticed Toews was when he got into a fight in Ottawa, got his face punched in, and then he scores 2 goals. I'm like, damn, that's what it took for Toews to wake up. Shit, he's got to fight every night. But that's the last game I noticed Jonathan Toews. And then the only time I hear about him is these stupid interview, these questions after the game.
Yeah.
Like, you're asking this guy the same question over and over again.
That's probably annoying.
Just stop, please.
Yeah. It's probably asking, what was it? That whole thing with the dude from Edmonton.
Leon
yeah.
Why are you so pissy, eh? Oh, that reporter needs to
oh my gosh,
he's got to get decked in the face, dude.
Yeah, dude.
Entitlement issues with these Canadian reporters up here, man. It's crazy.
We got some bad ones too. They like to make stories about themselves too, and I honestly don't even follow any of them because they state the obvious and they never will be negative. I was tweeting last game, I believe, actually 2 games ago, Stu Grimson was on the intermission reporting.
He was great.
He was bashing the Hawks. He goes, how do you miss an assignment like this? This is terrible. We got to fix it. I haven't heard this in years.
I was sitting there. I was thinking the same thing.
I was like, fucking right. We got to get a 4th line enforcer in his day to tell the truth, because these other guys are just like, oh yeah, Patrick Kane had a sick deke right there, and Marc-Andre Fleury was rubbing his post. Come on, dude.
Oh, he was great. Marc-Andre Fleury. Did you see his new helmet? It's like, come on, guys.
It's the same. It's the same thing, and I like the honesty with Stu Grimson. Like, hey, if they're shit, say it. Say it.
Yeah.
Like teach people, because you're not teaching them anything by saying how great they are. It's 5-0. We're losing. Great.
But hey, that was a great spinorama by Kane.
Yeah. He forgot the puck though at the blue line. He was offside. So.
Well, hey man, Tyler, I'd like to thank you, man, for coming on. It was great hockey talk. We love having guys on that that are doing other podcasts to come on and talk hockey with us, dude. And we'd love to have you on again.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. It was awesome. I've talked about trying to link up with you guys in the past. It was great to have you guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, maybe around maybe playoff time we can talk some hockey after a couple playoff games or something.
Wait.
Hopefully the Flames go deep.
Yeah,
Flames versus Tampa.
That's what she said.
Rematch.
I would love it. Like, although as long as they count goals that go in, I'll be happy. As long as we have that, we're good.
Matt will be wearing his Tampa Bay gear.
Dude, that was the best series so far. I was a junior in high school, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get a Hobby Bullen shirt.
Why would you
I got my dad lives down there, so yeah. Hey, sorry, man.
Well, hey, everybody, that's all that we got for you tonight. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Oh, before we go, Tyler, is there anything you want to shout out, like your social media, where people can find you at?
Yeah, so I won't shout out my personal one, but I'll shout out our podcast one, Head Pucks on Twitter. We're Mitts Twigs Hockey Podcast. Come give us a like, follow us in our podcast. We'd appreciate it. We talk hockey all the time, just like these boys. And yeah, thank you very much.
What about your Twitter handle?
It's just Head Puck. It's just @Heads Puck. We gotta get it changed. But mine is Ty Van Dusen. So yeah, I don't know what it is.
Cool, man. Well, hey, everybody, give them a follow. Check them out if you are not doing so already. And we'll see you on the next one. This is the Tomahawk, and we're out of here.